Welcome to Can We Talk? I'm Derek.
And I'm Sonia. Thank you for watching.
You know, we've been talking about marriage, and we've talked about intimacy, and we've talked about the core. We've talked about the role and responsibility of a husband and wife. And today we're going to try to talk about marriage in 20 minutes, which is the most difficult thing to do because it takes a lifetime to really understand what marriage is. So we found 3 things that work in our marriage, and we want to give those 3 things to you.
So 3 things that you need to have a successful marriage. Again, this is not an absolute list. There's so many more things, but these are our top 3. Are you ready? Self-control, self-awareness, and selflessness. So let's start with self-control. When we first got married, we had none.
We're laughing now, huh? It wasn't funny back then.
And we discovered that we were not going to make it if we did not have any self-control.
I laugh right now, huh?
Lord help us. And what we discovered was everywhere else you go, you cannot say and do whatever you feel like.
Right.
So why do you think you could get married into this sacred, holy covenant with another person and say and do whatever you feel like? You can't say and do whatever you feel like at work and expect to stay employed.
Right.
You can't say and do whatever you want to at church and expect to be considered respectable. You can't do whatever you want in your homeowners association. You can't do whatever you want when you're driving. There are traffic laws.
Right.
Yet you get married. You say, I do. You form a covenant and you think you're going to successfully be married by saying and doing whatever you want. So the big self-control was number 1. It is actually a fruit of the Spirit. We had to ask God for much of it. It is also considered the word temperance in the Bible as a fruit of the Spirit.
Right. But the funny thing about self-control, we had self-control before we got married. Everyone who's watching this video, you made sure you did not fart.
Or burp.
Or curse, or spit, or eat with your fingers.
And you tolerated stuff.
You know, you didn't do any of that. Why? Because you had self-control.
Yes.
Because you wanted to make an impression.
Yes.
You wanted to put your game face on. You wanted to make sure that that person was going to see you, but they really weren't seeing the real you.
Right.
But you had self-control to control. And those are physical things we're talking about. But we're talking about now things that are already in you, and they're going to come out while you're married. Through a conflict, it's going to come out. You know, you're going to want to curse the person out. It's going to come out. And so it's because you've made a decision that hurt and that conflict hurts so bad that you want to hurt the other person. And that's really where it comes from. You know, you hurt me. So since you hurt me and you don't have any self-control, so I'm going to give you back and make you feel what I felt.
So we had to learn a long time ago to apply rules of engagement into our marriage. Rules of engagement basically is an accountability system where you set some rules for the other, and if it's violated, then the other has to actually pour into the marriage. Our rule breaker would have to then meet the love language of their spouse for the week. And it really did help us gain some control over the way that we spoke and dealt with each other in our conflicts.
Right. So figure out why you have the impulses that you have. You know, there's a book that I was reading says, you know, and I keep on saying it to myself, I will not be a slave to my impulse. I will not be a slave to my impulse. I will not do and be in control of that impulse. And so figure out why is it that you have lack of self-control, and it may come from a deep-rooted issue. It may not. It may be impulsive. I worked in a school for years, and one of the kids, you say, you know, I'm saying, look, stop cursing, stop cursing. Mr. McCall, I can't stop cursing. This is what I do. It was an impulsive thing, and so you got to figure out, why do I not have self-control? Because you owe it to your spouse to know, yeah, I have a control issue, and I need to fix that.
Yeah, I know mine was spiritual because I didn't grow up hearing cursing. I wasn't around it. It was not even in my DNA. So I know that was straight up spiritual. The devil made me do it. That's for real.
Sure did.
And I had to rebuke that demon. And so whatever your lack of self-control is manifested in, get a handle on it. Get a handle on it. You know, Derek's was breaking furniture and putting holes in the wall and drinking Cavassier on the rocks with a twist of lime.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
We had to get past those things. And so we had to own our lack of self-control. We had to own it.
Because it was damaging the marriage.
Yeah.
I could not go to the club anymore. I could not go to the bar because I was feeling a certain way and get my drink and then come back home and expect everything to be okay. Sonia could not keep on using profanity and think that's okay. Because at some point, it's going to break and tear the marriage. So self-control.
So that leads us to the second S, because when Derek says you have to figure out why you do that, you need self-awareness to figure that out. You've got to figure out what is it. And so self-awareness, do you know your temperament? Do you know what easily besets you? Do you know your triggers? Do you know your birth order and the impact that might have had on how you respond to conflict? Do you know your needs? Do you know how maybe your parents' presence or absence or the way they parented you impacted the way you respond to people? All of that is included in self-awareness. And we really encourage you to take an opportunity to look deep inside of yourself and figure out, why do you do the things you do?
You know, men, this is important. Be self-aware of your upbringing and the impact for those men who did not have their fathers in their lives, or who did not have their fathers who interacted with them, and the tremendous impact on us as men to be self-aware and just understand it. We're not saying go back and relive some things. I'm saying that you have to get to that place where, yeah, that did impact me as a boy, as a teenager. And so being self-aware is for men to really be aware that, yeah, that particular part of my life impacts me as a husband, as a father, as a man. So it's important to have that kind of self-awareness for men.
And for women, you have to figure out, you know, what was your first introduction to your sexuality? You know, did anyone compromise you emotionally? You know, what messages did you see financially? And, you know, just understand who you are as a woman and how spiritual that role is. We actually have the ability to give birth. You know, was that treated with respect and dignity? And were you taught the power of that? You know, and so as a woman, there's so much to us. But you have to figure out, you know, are you healthy in all those areas? Because if you're not, it's going to impact how you respond to your husband. And before you get married, you need to figure that out.
Right. And last thing before you go to the third one, self-aware about your marriage. And I don't know if that's self-awareness. As a couple, being aware that, okay, let's pump the brakes. There's something going on in our marriage that we have to be aware of and stop the cycle. We have to figure out, why are we doing what we do?
And why are you having the same conflicts?
Right.
Over and over and over again, like Groundhog's Day.
Right.
Is it you? Is it how you're coping? Because here's the thing, problems don't destroy marriages. How we cope destroys marriages.
Right.
So you've got to figure out, why is that my coping mechanism? Why do I yell when that happens? Why do I retreat when that happens? Why do I charge? Why do I talk about it to other people? Why do you do the things you do? Right. Because that's the part of marriage that a lot of people miss.
All right, number 3.
This one right here is a doozy. This one right here is not for the faint of heart. Okay, it's the real reason that marriages either make it or they don't. You ready for it? This last S is selflessness. I can't say it enough. Selflessness. So here's the thing. I do disclaimers to people that want to get married. I say, if you feel like you have any ounce of selfishness in you, don't get married. Don't buy a dress. Don't look at rings. Don't look for the church. Don't talk about it. Go on your knees and ask God to give you some selflessness, because the minute you say I do, it stops becoming about you. And it becomes about esteeming your spouse over yourself. That's biblical, by the way. No, it does not make you a doormat. No, it does not mean that you're going to have low self-esteem. It means that you are whole enough in your marriage to consider your spouse first. And I get so annoyed. I'm so sorry. I am a marriage counselor, but I get so annoyed when we try to teach that and all we hear is, but he didn't, and I'm just thinking, but you got married. So it can be about what your spouse needs.
For better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health. Go back to those vows, because we are good when it's better. Got money in the bank, bills are paid, got a car, got a job, got some children, got a little dog named Oliver. Everybody's good. But then when bad happens, someone had an affair, someone can't stop gambling, someone picking up some hookers, someone watching some porn,
someone got sick,
someone
spent the money, someone talked about it to mama and them.
Mama. I told my mama. Someone didn't treat me right. Someone disrespected me. Someone cursed me out. As they came in, the list goes on and on and on. And we're talking about being selfless.
And we're not saying those behaviors are acceptable.
No, not at all.
But what we're saying is that's the worst. Like when you say for better or for worse, those are the worst.
Are you able to look at that person and die for self? Are you able to die and go into that place with just you and God, and you pray for that person, and you just go prostrate? You go into your closet, you do your war room, you do some chant, whatever you want to do. But are you able to let that go and let God take over that part of your life? There was a radio station here in Atlanta, and there was a story about the wife and the husband. The husband, they were married for 30-something years, and the husband got Alzheimer's. And one night, the husband woke up, and he says, "Will you marry me?" And she says, "Yes, I'll marry you, absolutely." And so she put it on Facebook, and everyone was looking at this event that took place. And they were heartfelt, and they got the caterer paying for the food, and they got somebody to pay for the florist and all his tux. And I share that story because they've been married for 30-something years. He succumbed to this devastating disease, and she was selfless. She took care of this man. She's still taking care of this man. And the question is, do we have to wait for something to happen to the spouse to be that selfish person, selfless person? Do we have to wait, or can we do it now? When you have the money in the bank, and you have the car, and you have the little dog named Oliver, and you have all these things that's going well, and it's not a perfect world, but are we able to say, okay, what you did was wrong and it hurt me, but I'm going to be selfless and still give. And it's hard to do. We're giving you an abbreviated version of what that looks like, but sometimes I don't want to do it.
And so we created a little litmus test for selflessness, which we did years ago, and every now and then we still do it, which is we try to see if you ask your spouse for the last piece of their favorite morsel, whatever it is, cake, food, whatever you're eating, and see if they'll give it to you. And I know that Derek used to try me on that all the time because he loves food. And he would wait till I'm at the last piece of my cake or whatever I'm eating, and he'll say, "Oh, can I have that last piece?" And I would give it to him. Can you do that? That's a test right there. Can you do that? And then there are times where he would, I would ask him for his last piece, and I know how he feels about food. And he would hesitate, but then he would say, okay. And then I would feel so bad, I would let him eat it. That's another form of selflessness. No, I'm going to save you out of your misery. Go ahead and eat the last piece. But at least I saw that you were willing. And so,
go ahead.
So that's an indication. That's a little example of selflessness. But we try it. Try it and see how it works at home. Even if your spouse is not watching, have a conversation about it. And see what happens.
I'll share a quick story about being, and we're 22 years married. We keep on saying that because we're not exempt from, it just requires work. The day you went to Walmart and I'm doing my thing. I'm working. I'm in the middle of the afternoon and I'm doing my work and I'm focused and that's my time and it was agreed upon and my wonderful wife. I don't think you asked me to go. You didn't ask me to go. You pretty much.
I just said I needed to go.
Yeah, and so.
But you knew I had some conflicts.
Yeah, there was a lot of conflicts. So I said to myself, so I'm struggling with this thing, and we're talking about being selfless, and I said, okay, Lord, and the words came out of my mouth, baby, I'll go ahead and take you to Walmart. And then Walmart ended up taking her to another store and then another store. And then we had to end up at her mom and dad's house. And that was all day. So my day was shot.
That was just the other day.
That was the other day. And I sacrificed my stuff.
Your day.
My day.
Your entire day.
For my wife so she can take care of the things that she had to take care of. And the beautiful thing about it, I felt good about it. I had some deadlines I had to make, but I felt good about it.
Yeah, because we were already out, and we could have come back home and let me go, but we were already out, and I realized we had some things that we had to do, and coming back home would have been out of the way. But coming back home is what he needed because there was a whole bunch of things he had scheduled to do, and that made a difference. That was a game changer for me that day. Right. Because it turned out that I really needed his help on some stuff. So.
Yeah, it was a heavy day. What would you say? We have a couple of minutes left. What would you say? Because we talked about the 3 S's. What everyone needs to know about marriage in 20 minutes. But what would you say to a couple that they need to know that we didn't say in the last 18 minutes?
Well, you touched on it, but I really do believe that to be a candidate for heaven, you have to die to self. Okay, that's biblical. And it's all over the New Testament. But I believe marriage is that vessel to help you do that. I believe that you're going to have to relinquish all the ways you used to respond and all the coping mechanisms you used to use and die to self. And that is actually the principle of Christianity. And I really do believe that when we follow God's heart, that's why he created marriage. Not just so we could have companionship, but so we could shed some of those sinful tendencies and become more like Christ. I mean, what better example than Christ? He did that. He wasn't even given love but he loved the people that crucified him. And so I really do believe that the point of marriage is to shed those selfish desires so that we can die to self and literally live a life of selflessness, self-control, self-awareness.
Okay.
It's a kingdom-related issue.
You know what I would say?
What?
I would say marriage is work. You put your big boy pants on, you put your big girl pants on, and you lace them bad boys up, and you go to work and stop the madness and do something about it. Mine is very simple. I'm a very simple guy. Of course, there's issues, there's hurt, there's pain, there's all kinds of stuff. I got it, I understand. This is what we do for a living. But just put your big boy pants on, your big girl pants on, and just go to work.
And understand that it's work. You can't, two people can't merge into one without any kind of work. You got to work at that.
So hopefully you got some understanding about marriage in 20 minutes. Check out our app. We have an app. There's a lot of information on the app. It's free, so check out the app.
And stay tuned for some new episodes where we talk about some heavier issues that hopefully will be relevant and continue this dialogue. Right. So you understand that the 3 S's, self-control, self-awareness, selflessness, and those are the 3 key components to a successful marriage. Right. So now that you know
what you're going to do,
with
subscribe to our channel, share it, and we thank you so much for watching.
And until next time, take good care of yourselves.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Can We... Cut. Welcome to Can We Talk? I'm Derek.
And I'm Sonia. Thank you for watching.
You know, one of the toughest things... Cut. Let's do it again.